Hello, I am Matthew Wittwer, and I am doing my presentation on spanking. Just a little introduction. Spanking in the research is also is considered to be a form of physical punishment, as well as it sometimes is called corporal punishment. The definition of spanking that I've been able to find is that spanking is hitting a child with an open hand, either on the buttocks or in any type of extremities. Lazaril in 2005 reported that 94% of parents in America admitted that they had used physical punishment on their children, and their children were ages 3 to 4. So a great amount of Americans do use physical punishment. However, there is a huge controversy of whether physical punishment and spanking is good for children or if they are bad for children, if it should be used or should not be used. So to give a few different perspectives against spanking, Jershoff in 2013 gave a great article that showed a very strong point of view of that spanking is not good. It showed that spanking is not any more effective than timeout. It does not help at all, and it also only works for short-term compliance and does not work at all for long-term compliance. Wittwer, in a study that Wittwer did in 2010, they really wanted to see what the children's views of spanking was, and the children actually didn't think that spanking or physical punishment was going to work for long-term either. They thought that would only really help children for short-term. So that is the children's voice on that. Back to Jershoff. Jershoff also said that spanking actually increases aggression, and a lot of times parents try to use spanking to reduce aggression, but it actually increases children's aggression. It also is a higher risk for mental health problems, delinquent behavior, criminal behavior, bad parenting in child relationships. That increases. In Wittwer's study with the children, they also reported that the parents who spank bring more fear. The children fear their parents more when the parents are spanking. And then it also is a higher risk for physical abuse. Corporal punishment is banned in 33 countries around the world. It is allowed in the United States, and actually in 19 states, the public school system is perfectly fine to use corporal punishment. Many respected organizations are against corporal punishment and have spoken out against that. And those organizations include American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, American Humane Association, American Academy of Pediatrics, National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners. As well as that, there's been several religions that have spoken out against corporal punishment, including the Methodist Church and the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church. Overall, spanking is considered to be violent, and the United Nations has said that corporal punishment is considered as a form of violence. And the reason why it's considered violence is because it causes more problems than what it solves, according to those who believe that spanking is not good. Lazaril really kind of did an article for spanking, and in that article it said that there are major problems with the current research for spanking. One of the big problems is that they don't look at different types of spanking, and Lazaril even pointed out Jershoff's study is saying that these are one of them, that lumps all the different types of spanking together. Some parents spank very rarely on rare occasions, while other parents spank very frequently and use it as the only form of punishment way to teach their children is spanking. And so there's a considerable amount of difference there. So Lazaril wanted to really push for research to separate those things. Conditional spanking is one of those that is really pushed for as being good because it is used very rarely and is only used when non-physical punishment has not worked. McLeod in 2007 really did a study based off of parents who endorse physical punishment versus parents who do not endorse physical punishment, and it was really found that for the parents who do not endorse physical punishment, if the mother is in psychological distress, she'll actually still use physical punishment on her children, And that when physical punishment is done by a mother who does not endorse it and who is under physical distress, that's when it produces the worst outcomes for the children, namely a lot of depressive symptoms. Wittwer's a study where they asked the children what their views were on it. They found a distinction that children who were in the pre-operational stages, so they're in the ages of around 2 to 7, were actually more open to receiving the punishment than the children who are in the concrete operational stages, so being 7 to 11 years old. So this may show that spanking can be more beneficial for children who are younger, where not as beneficial for children who can really would rather have reasoning and who can understand, and they'd much rather be talked to by their parents. So my proposal for a parenting class that would be done at a community center, if I was being asked for my opinion, I would say that teaching that spanking is bad and that should not be used in parenting is probably not a good thing to be taught in the parenting class. Spanking actually should be taught under certain conditions, because it can be very beneficial for child development. In Lazaril's study in 2005, they actually found that conditional spanking produces better outcomes in children's non-compliance and antisocial behaviors, and the better outcomes were better than 10 out of 13 alternative disciplinary tactics. So it actually can be a lot more beneficial in those areas. Developmental psychologists actually would rather promote reasoning and reasoning with the children much more than any type of punishment, non-physical or physical punishment. And the reason for this is because punishment can only reduce bad behaviors, and it can't really teach good behaviors. It can't promote good behaviors, only remove bad ones. And then in McLoy's study that focused on the mothers who were psychologically distressed, those who were psychologically distressed tend to spank more frequently, kind of indicating that these mothers are spanking when they are angry or frustrated, and that they have less control with it, and stress and anger is involved. So that is not very good for the children in general. Thus, McLoy recommended that parenting classes need to include coping strategies for the mothers and to promote good mental health for these mothers. And this alone is going to reduce spanking a lot more than just by telling mothers you shouldn't be spanking your children. Parenting classes need to teach a variety of skills for parents, so including mental health strategies. They also should be teaching that there's lots of different skills that they can use and to use in these different types of situations. The first thing they need to teach is how to encourage good behavior, to use reinforcement to reinforce good behaviors for children. And then after that, they should teach the appropriate times to use non-physical punishment. And doing both of these is really going to reduce the need that they'll ever need to use physical punishment on their children. And thus, when it is used a lot more rarely and only on certain times when conditions are met, then it can be the most effective. In our textbook, Infants and Children by Burke in 2012, this textbook teaches that punishment is most effective when it is consistent, when there's a warm parent-child relationship, and when parents explain the reasoning for using punishment to the children. Once again, Wittwer really wanted to focus on what the children's view on this, and children actually viewed reasoning as being the best way to reduce bad behaviors. This is what the children's voice is, and we should really be focusing on reasoning. So in conclusion, research does show that spanking can be beneficial in raising children, but only when used conditionally and when those conditions are explained to the children. In the parenting class that I would recommend, it needs to be taught ways to promote, ways to promote good mental health for the mothers. 2, it needs to be how to reinforce good children's behaviors. 3, how to use non-physical punishment. And 4, to explain under what conditions spanking or physical punishments should be used. Thank you very much.